On the evening of August 15, 1996, Janet March tucked her 2 young children into bed inside her Nashville home, and by the following morning her husband Perry would be telling everyone she knew that she had walked out on the family, and for the next 9 years, he would be the only person on earth who knew whether that story was true. If you're drawn to cases where the truth was quietly hiding inside the house the entire time, subscribe to the Untold record. This is exactly what we do here. Janet March was 33 years old and had built the kind of life most people spend decades working toward. She was a talented children's book illustrator. She was a devoted mother to a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. She lived in a large modern home in a wealthy Nashville neighborhood, a house she herself had helped design. Her husband Perry was an attorney working at her father's prestigious Nashville law firm. Her father, Lawrence Levine, had welcomed Perry into the family and into the practice years earlier. But inside the marriage, the picture was different. In the months leading up to August 1996, Janet had been quietly telling close friends that the relationship had become unstable. She had begun documenting things. She had spoken to a divorce attorney. She had drafted a list of terms she planned to bring into a formal separation discussion. The list was scheduled to be delivered to Perry on the night of August 15th. That was the same night she disappeared. The following morning, Perry told his father-in-law that Janet had left. He said they had argued the night before. He said she had packed a bag, taken $2,400 in cash, and driven off in her Volvo. He said she needed 12 days away from the family to think. Lawrence did not believe him. Janet had never in her life left her 2 young children alone for even a full weekend. She adored them. The idea that she had suddenly decided to abandon them for nearly 2 weeks without a single word to her parents made no sense to anyone who knew her. But there was no body. There was no crime scene. And Perry was telling investigators that his wife had left of her own free will. 2 weeks later, Janet's Volvo turned up in the parking lot of an apartment complex several miles from the March home. The interior looked exactly the way anyone would expect if Janet had simply parked it there and walked away. Her suitcase, her folded clothing, her sketchpad, her purse. Everything looked deliberate. Everything looked planned. Everything looked wrong. For years, Perry maintained that Janet had abandoned the family. He raised the children himself. He continued working at Lawrence's law firm until the tension became too much to sustain. Then in 1999, Perry took the 2 children out of the country and moved to Mexico. He did not tell Lawrence where he was going. He simply left, taking Janet's children with him, and settled into a small Mexican town where American extradition law was complicated. Lawrence and his wife Carolyn spent years fighting through international courts just to see their grandchildren again. Meanwhile, back in Nashville, investigators continued to quietly build a case. It would turn out that in 2005, nearly a decade after Janet disappeared, prosecutors finally had enough circumstantial evidence to charge Perry with her murder. The case had been assembled piece by piece over years. Statements from Perry's own family members. Financial records. Small inconsistencies in the story Perry had been telling since 1996 that had been quietly documented and preserved. Perry was extradited from Mexico and stood trial in Nashville in 2006. While he was in jail awaiting that trial, he made a phone call to his own father, asking him to arrange for the murder of Lawrence Levine, his father-in-law, before Lawrence could testify against him. That phone call was recorded. Perry's father agreed to the plan and hired what he believed was a hitman. The hitman was an undercover police officer. In 2006, Perry March was convicted of the second-degree murder of his wife Janet March and sentenced to 56 years in prison. Her body has never been found. He remains incarcerated in Tennessee. And sometimes the most unsettling cases aren't the ones with no evidence. They're the ones where the husband tells the world his wife walked out on the family, and then spends 9 years hoping nobody looks close enough to notice she never actually left. If you're drawn to cases that still echo long after they're closed, subscribe to the Untold record. There's always another file waiting to be opened.